Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our last reflection after 20 months together. And the title for the last 17 of these reflections on our faith and how we might live it today is taken from a beautiful prayer of St. John Henry Newman that I will quote to you in full here. God has created me to do him some definite service. He has committed some work to me he has not committed to another. I have my mission. I may never know it in this life, but I shall be told it in the next. I am a link in a chain, a bond of connection between persons. He has not created me for naught. I shall do good. I shall do his work. I shall be an angel of peace, a preacher of truth in my own place, even while not intending it, if I do but keep his commandments. Therefore, I will trust him, whatever, wherever I am. I can never be thrown away. If I'm in sickness, my sickness may serve him. In perplexity, my perplexity may serve him. If I am in sorrow, my sorrow may serve him. He does nothing in vain. He knows what he is about. He may take away my friends. He may throw me among strangers. He may make me feel desolate, make my spirits sink, hide my future from me. Still, he knows what he is about. This prayer, written by a truly remarkable man, defines the beginning and the end of our reflection. I have my mission. It's based on our Lord's own words from St. John's Gospel. You did not choose me, no, I chose you, and commissioned you to go out and bear fruit that will last. So much of what we hear now is about our choices, our preferences, our opinions. Last weekend, the potential choices put before us by the COP26 conference in Glasgow to save our planet from destruction seem to have been almost totally ignored. Why? Because in our perception, which is often coloured and formed by the media, the real choice at stake this weekend is a new manager for Manchester United. Likewise, any concept of mission may be affected by the eponymous mantra of many of Tom Cruise's films. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, At the weekend, we spoke of the reign of Christ our King and how his kingship was exercised in service, even unto his own death, and that this was how we might exercise our role in this kingship ourselves, as we quoted from Graham Kendrick's lovely hymn. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King. At the beginning of his pontificate in 2013, Pope Francis wrote a remarkable letter to us called The Joy of the Gospel. In it, he said the following: The joy of the gospel fills the hearts and lives of all who encounter Jesus. Those who accept his offer of salvation are set free from sin, sorrow, inner emptiness, and loneliness. The great danger in today's world, pervaded as it is by consumerism, is the desolation and anguish born of a complacent yet covetous heart, the feverish pursuit of frivolous pleasures, and a blunted conscience. Whenever our interior life becomes caught up in its own interests and concerns, there is no longer any room for others, no place for the poor. God's voice is no longer heard. The quiet joy of his love is no longer felt, and the desire to do good fades. This is a very real danger for believers too. Many fall prey to it and end up resentful, angry, and listless. That is no way to live a dignified and fulfilled life. It is not God's will for us, nor is it the life in the Spirit, which is its source in the heart of the risen Christ. And he also quotes his predecessor here, Pope Benedict. Being a Christian is not the result of an ethical choice or a lofty idea, but the encounter with an event, a person, which gives life a new horizon and a decisive direction. Pope Francis comments on that. Thanks solely to this encounter, or renewed encounter with God's love, which blossoms into an enriching friendship, we are liberated from our narrowness and self-absorption. We become fully human when we become more than human, when we let God bring us beyond ourselves in order to attain the fullest truth of our being. Here we find the source and inspiration of all our efforts at evangelization. For if we have received the love which restores meaning to our lives, how can we fail to share that love with others? Though it is true that this mission demands great generosity on our part, it would be wrong to see it as a heroic individual undertaking, for it is first and foremost the Lord's work, surpassing anything which we can see and understand, he says. You did not choose me, I chose you, with apologies to Tom Cruise. Last week I highlighted some personal concerns that had made life very difficult for me in the ministry. The perceived loss of our soul collectively and individually, the overtaking of our lives by consumerism and social media, the self-referential introspective view on life that has blinded us to others, and so on. The fact is that our Christian faith, and our Catholic faith in particular, is not a matter of choice from an a la carte menu, which we can take or leave at will. Somehow, we've lost the sense of being chosen, even if we had it in the first place. Losing the sense of being chosen means that we do not see what we've been chosen for. Back to Cardinal Newman's prayer again. He has committed some work to me that he has committed to no other. I have my mission. That mission, that calling, is as powerful as any calling God ever made in the pages of the Bible to prophets and kings, and it expresses itself in every aspect of our lives, especially in the ones that we think might preclude it. Our sickness, our perplexity, our sorrow, because he does nothing in vain, he knows what he is about, the Cardinal says. So let us think for a moment of a few activities within our communities which are already taking place and reveal maybe where this mission is being carried out today. Last Sunday's Single People's Lunch, which brought together 70 people socially round a table for the first time in ages, including many who'd been widowed in that period and were still trying to come to terms with their sorrow and loneliness, and thereby created an atmosphere of friendship and compassion that they may not have experienced for a while. The meal was just an excuse. Then there's the continued support of education in the Hope House project in Nigeria, which has opened our eyes to the needs of those who are no longer far away because one of their priests is also our brother, Father Michael, and thus they cannot be remote from us either. The Alternativity Project, which seeks to transform how people do their Christmas shopping and thus make the whole event more authentic. Our Developing World Support Group in Hinckley, which likewise has personal contact with the recipients of their efforts. The Masses each day in our parishes, when we come together to honour the Lord, and the prayer group meeting weekly in Earl Shilton and also in Market Bosworth to do the same and reach out in concern for people all over the world. The play that is being rehearsed at the moment for presentation after Christmas, which demonstrates dramatically what might and probably will happen when there are no priests left. Bishop Patrick, whose take on Pope Francis' words of encounter, discipleship and missionary discipleship defines much of his own mission, and through him our own, is coming to see this play to discover what such a scenario might actually look like. A Christmas fair is coming up, which, like our play, will get people together and donate much of its proceeds to homeless people in our town and the work to help and support them. There are so many things that we can involve ourselves in collectively and individually to accept the mission given to us by Christ, but there is so much more. Every person has my mission. Every family preparing for the baptism or first communion of their children. Every young person contemplating confirmation at this time. Every single person, young or old, rich or poor, sick or healthy, has been given a mission by our Lord to serve him and to show others the joy of what serving him and living in his way is like. This is far and away from doing things when we feel like it, which seems to be the case right now. The perception and understanding of my mission comes from a nearness to our Lord, the consequent desire to follow him and thus to bring others with you. Yesterday morning, there was a beautiful event on breakfast television. The former rugby league player Kevin Sinfield was trying to run 101 miles in 24 hours, following on from his running 7 marathons in 7 days earlier in the year. This was very much his mission, but why? Because of the love of his friend, Rob Burrow, who has developed motor neurone disease and whose condition is deteriorating. Kevin wanted to do something for his friend and his friend's family, and to raise funds to keep them going, but also to research into this heartbreaking and dreadful condition. The BBC followed his efforts with significant coverage, and thousands of people came out to support him on the route from Leicester to Leeds and welcome him back there at 8:30 in the morning. It was a thoroughly heartening and inspiring news story, so much in contrast to the many others that we've been presented with lately. It was Kevin's hope to raise £100,000 from his efforts, and by last night, that hope was more than realised as the amount raised surpassed £1 million. There was so much joy and delight in what could have been a very depressing situation, and this attitude surely changed how people view the condition and those who live and die with it. The family atmosphere of the whole event was so evident, many people happily associating themselves with it. Now, isn't this the sort of thing that we should all be doing in the Lord's service? This is the whole point of Pope Francis's words quoted earlier. Look outside yourself, reach out to others, discover the delight in giving your time and energy to them. Last evening, I had a conversation with a lovely lady who is the lay chaplain to a boarding school just outside Sheffield. She brings some of the students down to Derby every fortnight to join us for our Tuesday club, and it's truly wonderful to have them. She was concerned about trying to give her students some sense of what a life with our Lord might be. Many day students in her school have not the slightest thought about such a thing, and their ambitions lie in getting highly paid jobs, big houses and Land Rovers, and this attitude deeply troubled her. She asked me what sort of strategies she might employ, what projects embark on, what resources use to help them have some idea what a life with our Lord, and thereby of their own mission as well, would be like. And I said that in the end it didn't come down to strategies or plans, but personal contact. There's much talk at the moment about the forthcoming synod in 2023, and the hope that it will change things for us. But if past experience is anything to go by, I have my doubts. It can be sometimes what I call the fallacy of the big event. And I truly hope I'm wrong, if for no other reason than it is Pope Francis who is behind it and wants to change the church so that we can be more true to our calling, our mission, if you like. In order to discover my mission, I must somehow be predisposed to it, ready to accept the Lord's calling to me. To do that, there must be a relationship with him in existence already, and that is what is sadly lacking in countless people, as we've said. Our mission may be precisely in trying to create the scenario whereby people can come to see this for themselves, to facilitate an encounter with Jesus, which will in the end completely change their minds and hearts. You may have heard me refer many times to the expression to intrigue people, or to leave them with a whiff of holiness through their contact with us. Our mission is to live our lives in such a way, generously, prayerfully, with compassion and truth, as to make them think, why are these people like this? What is it that they seem to have that I don't? How might I be like them, who seem to have no care or ambition for the things that have been overtaking and driving me? Much work lies ahead of us, particularly in regard to the salvation of our planet, the changing of work practices, the literal creation of a new world for us all to live in, and our children and grandchildren too. As Greta Thunberg repeatedly says, there is no time to waste, we must act now. But in the end, it is in what is in the heart and soul of each of us that counts. We cannot intrigue people about the life of discipleship if we are not the Lord's disciples ourselves, and we cannot be his disciples unless somehow we have encountered him ourselves, and we cannot encounter him personally unless we allow ourselves to be encountered by him in prayer, the deep personal relationship which he offers to us. Prayer is not an exercise for asking for what we want. It is the habit of placing ourselves entirely at the disposal of him whom we have encountered in the depths of our hearts. People will only be predisposed to change their minds and hearts when they have seen something in others to make them want to do it. Yesterday, I celebrated the funeral of a beautiful friend from my first parish in Sheffield. I saw her the week before she died, and she was wondering why the good Lord had not come to take her. Her long life had been a living testimony to her mission in her family, her commitment to her parish, and to many other things. And as that life drew to its end, she was left with him, her Lord, whom she was looking forward to meeting face to face. Pope Francis told us earlier about the encounter with Jesus. Please go back and listen to his words again. Cardinal Newman told us that we might fulfill our mission even while not intending it. And so, as we come to the end of these reflections, what I wish to leave you with is the hope that all of us will discover precisely our mission is what it is as followers of the Lord, and that we'll be prepared to make the necessary sacrifices to accomplish it. Advent is just beginning, a beautiful time of silence, which has now been sadly filled with noise and razzmatazz and lights to make us all feel good. It has the opposite effect on me, I'm afraid. Advent is the time for prayer, for encountering the Lord as his mother did so beautifully. The Almighty works marvels for me. Holy is his name. I am the servant of the Lord. Let what you have said be done to me. Sometimes the answer to all these conundrums is right under our noses, only we don't see it, or can't, or even won't. It lies in the presence of each other, in the cries of those who are poor and exploited, in the words of our sacred scriptures and hymns when we take the trouble to read them and think about them. Very shortly, we'll be singing our Christmas carols once again, and there is a verse from one of them that says it all about my mission to me. How silently, the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessings of his heaven. No ear may hear his coming, but in this world of sin, where meek souls will receive him still, the dear Christ enters in. I truly hope that we can all become meek souls, so that the Lord can enter into our hearts and then through us into the hearts of others. That is our mission. Thank you for watching for these past 20 months, and a huge thank you to Mark for his great efforts in bringing these Wednesday reflections to you. I'm truly grateful to him and to all of you. I hope you will all feel able to return to your churches, wherever they may be, despite the worries that remain about the pandemic, and that, like many others, you will rediscover the consolation and joy of being together again and encountering our Lord around his table. When it comes, a blessed Christmas to you all, and here's hoping and praying that the new year will be kind to every one of us, wherever we may be.